The desert winds of Tarsus 9 howled with a dry electric tension. Dust devils danced like ghosts over the cracked surface of the moon-sized colony, sweeping past the scorched remains of what had once been a mining outpost. Captain Daria Malkov stood at the edge of a shallow ridge, visor down, eyes scanning the charred footprints that led nowhere. The settlement had been obliterated. No survivors, no distress signals, no signs of resistance, just silence and scorched earth. Behind her, the rest of the tactical recon team surveyed the ruins. Lieutenant Singh knelt beside a twisted piece of composite alloy, its surface etched with organic patterns that didn't match any known human manufacturing. He ran his scanner over it, lips tightening. "This isn't ours," he muttered. "Not even close." Daria didn't answer right away. Her eyes were locked on the ridge's edge, where the terrain fell into a natural basin, an ideal spot for an underground hideout, a bunker. She keyed into the orbital feed, static, again. "I want ground-penetrating radar swept across this entire valley," she ordered. Singh looked up. "Ma'am, that tech's already been scrambled. Every scan we've run bounces back clean. Whatever they're using down there, it's not jamming. It's erasing." Corporal Vega, who'd been posted as Overwatch, turned slightly and spat in the dust. "That's the third colony this month. Same pattern. Same ghosts. We're chasing shadows." "No," Daria said quietly. "We're chasing Houthis." The name had long ceased to refer only to the guerrilla faction from Old Earth. In the outer colonies, it had become shorthand for insurgents steeped in scavenged alien technology and a fanatical ideology, untraceable, unpredictable, and increasingly inhuman in their tactics. What disturbed her most wasn't the brutality, it was the precision, the way every town vanished the same way, the way each attack left no comms, no evidence, no mistake. This wasn't just terrorism, this was testing. A low beep on Singh's scanner broke her thoughts. He glanced at it and frowned. "I've got a heat signature, faint, not mechanical, biological maybe, 30 meters beneath us, just for a second." Daria stepped closer. "Could be a survivor." "Or bait," Vega said, adjusting his rifle. Dr. Anders jogged over from the supply rover, tablet in hand. He was out of breath, but the excitement in his eyes overshadowed his weariness. "I ran an algorithm through the residual EM fields. It's not just signal interference. The disturbance forms a pattern. Harmonic frequencies. Like a neural lattice. This isn't environmental. It's deliberate." Daria's pulse ticked up. "You're saying the field itself is alive?" "Not necessarily, but it's reactive, intelligent. Someone or something is using alien tech to mask entire structures underground." She nodded slowly. This confirmed the worst suspicion she'd harbored since the first outpost fell. The Houthis had found something ancient, something dormant, and twisted it to their needs. "Then it's time we stopped playing blind," she said. "Singh, prep the seismic relay. Vega, watch the ridge. Anders, I want a deep scan using your neural model. We find this bunker, whatever it is, and we go in. Tonight." They moved with grim efficiency. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the valley into rust-colored shadows. As twilight deepened, Singh deployed the seismic relay, a heavy spider-like device that burrowed into the rock and began pinging the subsurface with quantum pulses. It wasn't military standard, it was new tech, experimental. But it was all they had left that the Houthis hadn't learned to counter. Minutes passed. The team waited in silence, scanning the darkness, fingers twitching near triggers. The relay chirped once, then again a steady rhythm. It had found something. "Cavity detected," Singh reported. "Large, grid-like, possibly reinforced with organic alloy. Multiple heat signatures inside." "Confirmation?" Daria asked. "High probability. It's a bunker." Vega's expression tightened. "You think this is where they took the civilians?" Anders' voice was low. If they're alive, they're not the same anymore. Daria looked at her team, each face lit dimly by HUD lights and the glow of the relay's readout. These weren't just soldiers. They were the last layer of defense between humanity and whatever had started festering in the dark. Then we bring them back, she said, or we bury this hole so deep it'll never be found again. Above them, the stars shimmered with silent witness. The darkness below answered with a whisper of static in their comms, low, indistinct, but unmistakably human, a voice calling for help, or mimicking one. The team froze. Did you hear that? Singh said, voice barely above a whisper. Daria's jaw clenched. Record it. Analyze the signal. Vega, heat up the drop charges. We're not going in unarmed. But the moment passed, and the signal vanished as quickly as it had come. The night pressed closer. Below, something waited, and it knew they were coming. The descent into the bunker began just after midnight. The air was unnaturally still, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. Captain Malkov moved first, sliding down the narrow breach they'd carved into the rock using thermite drills and micro-detonators. Singh followed, equipment pack humming with energy as he monitored environmental data through his wrist display. Vega took rear guard, heavy rifle primed, its barrel sweeping for movement. Anders stayed topside, watching the sensors and relaying data as they progressed. Inside, the walls were smooth and curved, not constructed, but grown. They pulsed faintly under the glare of helmet lights, like veins embedded in flesh. Singh ran a gloved hand along the surface. This isn't just architecture, it's bioresponsive. Alien tissue, maybe partially fossilized, but alive in patches. Malkov didn't need the science. She could feel it. The air had weight, a presence. The silence was deeper here, like sound didn't want to linger. They moved through the passage with disciplined urgency, their boots making only the softest contact with the strangely pliant floor. 20 meters in, they reached the first chamber. A circular cavity opened before them, walls lined with pods, translucent, ovoid, faintly glowing from within. Shapes floated inside. Human shapes. Vega approached cautiously, rifle up. He peered into one of the pods, breath catching. Civilians. At least a dozen. They're alive. I think. Suspended. There's something in their blood. Dark. Metallic. Neural stasis, Singh muttered. Mixed tech. Bioelectric dampeners wrapped in an alien exoshell. Malkov scanned the room. Can we extract them? Not without alerting whatever controls this system, Singh said. These pods are linked. If we break one, the others might shut down, or worse. A low hum vibrated through the chamber, as if something had heard them. The walls darkened. A pod twitched. Move, Malkov ordered. We mark the location and return later. Right now, we find the command node. They slipped deeper into the maze, guided by Singh's scanner and gut instinct. The passage narrowed before opening again, this time into a vast, domed space. At its center stood a twisted structure of bone-like struts and glowing cables. It looked grown, not built, alive. Behind it, barely visible, moved humanoid figures. Vega raised his weapon, but Malkov held up a hand. Wait, let them show us what they are. The figures stepped forward. Men in patchwork armor, faces masked by respirators fashioned from both human and alien components. One stepped into the light, revealing a cybernetic eye and flesh pulsing with unnatural veins. Houthi. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. The others raised weapons, hybrid rifles humming with alien energy, and fired. Malkov dove behind a protruding ridge as beams of white heat lanced through the air. Vega returned fire with mechanical precision, dropping one enemy with a burst to the chest. Singh rolled to cover, activating a drone that projected a refractive shield dome around them. "We need to disable that node," he shouted. "I can try an overload pulse," Malkov said. "Give me 30 seconds." Singh nodded and began setting charges. Vega kept the enemy pinned, but the opposition was relentless. More Houthis emerged from hidden alcoves, their movements erratic, as if directed by something unseen. Then the ground itself shifted. The structure at the chamber's center convulsed. Cables retracted into walls, panels closed like eyelids. The entire chamber moaned with pressure. "It's waking up," Singh warned. "This whole place is one big nervous system. If we don't shut it down now, it'll seal." "Pulse ready," Malkov called. "Do it." Singh triggered the charge. A shock wave of blue light pulsed outward, cracking the air and shorting every electronic system in the chamber, including the enemy weapons. The Houthis screamed in rage and confusion, clutching their heads as their implants flared. Malkov moved fast, sprinting toward the central node. She jammed a magnetic spike into its base and activated a recursive hack module. Sparks erupted from the structure as the system fought back. A voice, layered and dissonant, echoed through the chamber. Not human. Not one voice. Many. "This is not your place." She gritted her teeth, ignoring it, focusing on the hack. The module completed its cycle. For a second, everything went still. Then the lights died. "Now!" she barked. The team moved in unison, sprinting for the nearest tunnel as the structure behind them began to twist violently. Wall tendrils shot from the surface, flailing wildly. One caught Singh by the leg, yanking him backwards. Vega roared, lunging back and slashing the tendril with his combat knife. He fired point-blank into the wall as Singh scrambled away, bleeding but alive. They didn't stop to look back. By the time they reached the surface, the valley trembled. The bunker groaned, trembled. The bunker groaned beneath them as if breathing its last. Anders stood by the relay, pale and shaking. "You triggered something," he said. "Every signal across the valley just blinked. It's like you gave the thing a seizure." Malkov didn't respond. She looked down at Singh's torn leg, at Vega's scorched armor, at the blood streaked across their gear. And then finally she looked up at the stars. "We know where they are now," she said. "And next time, we bring down the sky." The command came down less than 6 hours after extraction. "Authorize orbital strike." Captain Malkov stood in the control tent, watching the targeting coordinates flicker on the holoscreen. A digital model of the alien complex pulsed with soft red markers. Nodes, tunnels, and nests, mapped from the data Singh's relay had scraped before the overload. Above it all hovered a blinking icon. Kinetic rods, already in low orbit, waiting for her confirmation. She hesitated. Around her, the team worked in silence. Singh sat with his injured leg propped on a crate, manually adjusting signal filters to maintain a stable uplink. Anders was hunched over his tablet, reviewing bioscans from the civilians suspended in the pods. Vega paced outside, his weapon cradled against his chest, like a weight he couldn't put down. "There are still people down there," she said quietly. Singh didn't look up. "If we wait, they won't be. And neither will we." Anders finally spoke. "I ran more samples. The alien tissue is integrating with the host DNA. Whatever this place was built to do, it's doing it now, turning them into something else. There's a window. It's closing." Malkov studied the image one last time, then gave the nod. "Execute." Far above in the silence of space, one of the waiting rods released. A tungsten spike, the size of a cargo shuttle, accelerated toward the planet's surface at orbital velocity. No explosion, no sound, just pure kinetic devastation. The rod struck the valley like the fist of a god. The ground split open. From the ridge, the team watched the blast send shockwaves through the landscape. Dust rose like a mushroom cloud. Subterranean structures collapsed. A jagged line tore across the horizon, and from its depths came a scream. Not acoustic, but psychic. a pressure against the mind that made Anders drop to his knees, clutching his head. Malkov steadied him, jaw clenched. "Get a reading." Singh winced, eyes on the sensor display. "There's movement, beneath the primary impact zone." Vega cursed. "It survived?" "No," Singh said, voice trembling. "It adapted." Towers began to rise from the fractured terrain, black, glistening spires unfolding like insect legs. Energy crackled along their surfaces. The bunker hadn't been destroyed. It had been awakened. Anders stood, face pale. The alien structure was dormant. The strike triggered a regenerative protocol. It's responding like an immune system. "They're coming up," Vega warned. "Whatever's down there isn't staying down." Back in the command tent, Malkov opened a secure channel. There was one option left, buried under layers of contingency and deniability: the Hellfire seed. It was a prototype, an AI-guided payload designed not to explode, but to infiltrate and consume. Nanobot swarms encoded to devour alien biomass and replicate until nothing remained. It had never been tested. High Command didn't even acknowledge its existence. She gave the code. Within the hour, a black container dropped from orbit and embedded itself into the rocky plateau near the breach. The payload would need to be manually guided to the heart of the alien system. The drones couldn't navigate the shifting terrain. Someone had to go down, again. "I'll take it," Malkov said before anyone else could speak. Singh tried to protest, but she raised a hand. "You can't walk. Vega needs to cover the surface, and Anders needs to monitor the feed. I'm expendable." "No, you're not," Vega growled. Malkov looked at them both. "You've seen what's down there. If that thing spreads beyond this valley, we're not just losing a colony. We're inviting extinction." The drop into the breach was silent. The Hellfire seed was no larger than a backpack, but it pulsed with quiet menace. The alien tunnels shifted as she passed, the walls slick with condensation. The deeper she went, the more the air changed, thicker, charged with ionized particles. Her HUD glitched sporadically, echoes whispered through her comms. The central chamber had changed. Where once stood a node, now loomed a pulsing mass of fused flesh and architecture. Human limbs protruded in places, twitching in rhythmic spasms. Faces, some recognizable, others not, emerged and vanished beneath layers of translucent membrane. It was no longer a bunker. It was a womb. Malkov approached slowly, every instinct screaming to run. She set the seed at the base of the mass and activated the program. A thin hiss escaped as the containment shell opened and a stream of silver mist poured into the chamber, snaking toward the structure. The biomass recoiled. Tendrils lashed out, sensing the intrusion. One caught her across the shoulder and flung her backwards. She hit the wall hard, armor cracking. Dazed, she struggled to rise as the seed began to glow, bright, then blinding. From her calm, Singh's voice cut through. "It's working. Structure integrity collapsing. You've got to get out now." She staggered to her feet, blood in her mouth, vision swimming. The extraction beacon was still live. She triggered it. The launcher topside locked onto her signal and fired the tether. Seconds later, she was yanked into the air. The valley below dissolved into chaos. Where once stood alien towers and living walls, now churned a sea of disintegration. The nanobots were relentless. Matter peeled away in waves, collapsing the hive from within. By the time she landed at the surface, the breach was sealed, replaced with a smooth, glass-like crater, still smoking from residual heat. Silence returned. Later, as the team regrouped and medics stabilized their wounds, Anders sat beside her. He held a tablet with final telemetry scans. "It's gone," he said. "All of it. The pods, the biomass. No trace remains." Malkov nodded, her eyes distant. "That's what we wanted." He hesitated. "There's something else. The seed uploaded partial data before detonation. Neural echoes. fragments of consciousness stored in the alien lattice, human minds, partially merged. Some of them were still aware. She didn't ask what they said. That night she dreamt of the voices in the dark, human and inhuman, calling her name over and over again. And somewhere deep beneath a crater that should no longer exist, something still listened, waiting.